Throughout my absurd fashion photography experiments, I created 3 individual books. One normal photo book, my own magazine, and a disrupted photo book. While out taking my photos, I attempted to create a short fashion film inspired by some of Nick Knight's studio work. However, only being left with a couple clips due to lack of light in most clips. I've selected only my favourite photos from each experiment to create my photo book, where I later used as a guide for making my magazine. I made my photo book out of plain A4 paper stapled together, leaving the edges uncut. I've used the full A4 page for each photo to show off the portraits and clothes within them. I've decided not to cut the edges of each image, as it shows the change from a simple uncut photo book to a formal laid out magazine. I didn't use the typical book outline, as I wanted it a little different from my previous books. Also, to show the changes for my 3 main experiments, I took a double page of A4 and used just one photo to cover both pages. However, once put together, some of the photo went missing, absurding the image, giving me the idea of making a disrupted version of my photo book later on. At first, I wasn't going to make a photo book, but changing my mind, as it's an easy way to help me create a layout for my final magazine. Moving on to my magazine, where I attempted to go through each experiment and add a small explanation behind my ideas behind. My first couple pages are meant to be index pages, showing a small preview of what's to come. But the photos I chose didn't make it into my photo book, but still part of each section. And on my 4th page, I made a simple collage of extra photos I had taken. Onto the start of my street and documentary fashion photography, I enlarged 2 of my preferred photos with black and white backgrounds and a coloured subject. I explained how I went on to edit these photos in Photoshop. Continuing with the same experiment, I placed 2 images of the original and edited version of the photos to show my process from one to another, adding more information of the photos below. To break down my different experiments, I made my own Jägermeister advert by taking a photo of branded socks and a small glass, transferring them into Photoshop, where I combined these images into a poster. On the right hand side, I showed my steps of what I did in Photoshop. For my first page of rural fashion photography, I placed 3 photos together with the same outfits and area, where I contrasted the bright youth fashion of today with old-fashioned farm and rust. However, with my other set of rural fashion photography, I focused more on the composition of the images, as the left image has a key use of leading lines, and the right has a frame around the subject inside of the camera frame, sending your eyes to the person and their outfit. Cutting from my second to third experiment, I created another advert for Eastpak. However, instead of showing my steps in Photoshop to the final advert, along the side of the image, I showed the development of my ideas to make the final one. My final section, called Standout Fashion Photography, starts with my duct tape clothing idea, where I took multiple clothing items and brought bright and colourful duct tape to cover and create into my own to photograph. My second concept seemed simple and unaffected at first, although for me creating the end result came out better than expected. For these images, I cut out the background and used either black or yellow to show off the clothes in the middle. This was the same for the last pages. Instead of one colour, I experimented with multiple on one page, as well as showing the original plain photo at first to the end piece, completing my magazine. After making a photo book and a magazine, I wanted to distort my images into a third disrupted book, making a more playful experiment. On the first 2 pages, I took some of my magazine pages and overlaid them on top of each other. The left, I printed out an image and cancelled it halfway through, giving the background a lined black effect. With the right image, I removed the black ink cartridge from my printer and continued to print out the image. The next page was purposely covered with danger tape to try and get the person watching discovering the image underneath. Next to it, I framed another photo of mine with bright duct tape inviting you into the image, covered by a quote, suggesting the use of photography can be taken away easily if people forget its significance. Turning the page into a busy collage of different experiments, where the centre of this page creates a playful image in itself, where I burnt a hole into the middle of the page, which creates a window for a webbed image underneath with string. Around this, I coloured in obscure figures around an image. Also, I placed crumpled up pictures together in a messy order, creating a small, unusual collage. Underneath that, I've reconstructed my image by cutting it into horizontal and vertical lines, placing it into the unoriginal way. The last pages have been covered in duct tape with small images added in between each piece. The final look of the book is unneat, however it matches the point of the destroyed images within.